Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Friends, Namaste on behalf of Param Vedanta. I extend one and all a hearty welcome for today's 68th session of DISHA, a series aimed to lead us into an inward journey for discovery of inner strength and happiness. Today, Srimati Indumati ji shall explain from the 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga of Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yoga with emphasis on meditation, and Karma Yoga with emphasis on devotion. From Tattva Bodha, she will explain the first meaning of bhakti, that is devotion to God. This presentation is followed by a teaching quiz put together by Srimati Mamata and Sri Dr. Sachin. The quiz is aimed to emphasize and reinforce the key aspects of today's topics. Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir shall introduce and also prepare us for the day's topics. Dr. Netravati shall chant and explain the invocation or profound prayer shloka, which we are all familiar, Purnamada Purnamidam, which occurs in both Ishavasya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishads. Before that, I would like to make an important announcement. To commemorate Guru Purnima, we shall be broadcasting a special celebratory session on Monday, 3rd July. Do not miss joining us in celebrating this memorable day and expressing our gratitude to our Gurus. I request Dr. Netravati to take over, please.
Namaste, Hari Om. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Coming to the next slide. This forms a Shanti Pata of Isha Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. If you actually see the actual translation, you can see how cryptic this sounds. But this Shanti Pata has a profound meaning, almost giving the full essence of the Upanishads. In the next slide, Purnamada. Coming to the next slide, sir. Purnamada, here the word Adha means that one, refers to God, the creator, Karanam Brahma, Brahman or Ishvara. So that Ishvara or Brahman is Purnam. Purnam means whole, complete, not lacking anything, limitless. Purnam Idam. Idam means this one, the entire universe, the whole Prapancha, Jagat. Idam also refers to this Jivatma, which is Purnam or infinite. If Paramatma is Purnam, Jivatma is also Purnam. Equating them together, you can say Paramatma and Jivatma are one and the same, both being infinite. So what is the difference between this infinite and that infinite? Infinite can be only one. Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyam. Tattvamasi, Mahavakya is brought about straight away. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. From the Purna Swarupa, Paramatma, the Purna Swarupa Jivatma originates. The relationship between God and world is, one is Karanam, the other is Karyam. One is cause, the other is effect. So if both of them are Purnam, how can you say that one Purna Jivatma originates from the Purna Paramatma? Both are Purnam, both are infinite. So how to say that Jivatma originated from Paramatma? This is from the standpoint of Nama and Rupa. From the standpoint of their nature, both are same. So this we can understand by the example of ocean and wave. Both are essentially one and the same. Ocean is also water, wave is also water. Therefore, I can give an equation. Both of them are one and the same. But I can also say wave originates from the ocean. Just like gold is inherent as the essence of all ornaments, wood is essence of all furniture. So when you say a wave originates from ocean, what is the standpoint? Not from the water standpoint, but from the Nama Rupa standpoint. So wave is individual Nama Rupa, ocean is total Nama Rupa, Samasti Nama Rupa and Vyasti Nama Rupa. Coming to the next slide. Purnasya Purnam Adaya. Purna means the essential Purna Swarupam. Belonging to whom? Purnasya, belonging to both Paramatma and Jivatma. Because Paramatma Swarupam is also Purnam, Jivatma Swarupam is also Purnam. So this Purna Swarupam of both Paramatma and Jivatma, when you grasp and separate, that is, when you separate the water from the wave and ocean, what is left behind? Nothing is left behind. So when the Purna Swarupam is separated from Jivatma and Paramatma, what remains? Purna Swarupam alone remains. So the entire Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Anatma is Nitya. Purna Swarupa Atma alone is Satyam. So coming to the next slide, the summary or the message from this shloka is Jivatma, Paramatma are essentially one and the same. Jivatma, Paramatma have cause-effect relationship only superficially. Other than the essential nature of Jivatma and Paramatma, no Anatma exists. So combining these three messages, the essential teaching is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam Tattvamasi. So if we understand this profound Shanti Pata, what will be our state of mind? Shanti, 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 at peace. So with this Shanti Pata, let us pray to God to remove all the obstacles for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Netra, for explaining in a very simple manner a very, very profound mantra, as already explained from the Shukla Yajurveda, comes both in Ishavasya and Brihadaranyaka. We keep chanting them all the time, but we do not realize what a profound mantra this is. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. As we have come towards the end of the study of the Bhagavad Gita, let us look at our own life as a spiritual journey. A spiritual journey becomes meaningful, purposeful, and successful only if it is conducted with the help of a guru and shastras. And I cannot get words to explain how blessed we are to have an Acharya as Swami Paramarthananda, who has been guiding all of us in this amazing spiritual journey. This is a verse from the Bhaja Govindam song, which sounds very negative, but also very real. It goes like this: Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jhatare Shayanam, Iha Samsare Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare. What a very unfortunate prayer that someone can make to the Lord. Oh Lord, I'm fed up. I'm fed up of this recurrent birth, recurrent death, birth and death. I don't want to go to that womb once again and be stuck for so many months and start my life all over again. Please get me out of this cycle. Maybe we would have prayed this at some time. Then the Guru and the Shastras have come into our life and our spiritual journey has begun. And this is a shift from what normally a life Swamiji describes as MBBS. MBBS means our lives are so repetitive. Most of us every day have the same cyclical activity to do. And after some time, we become so bored. How long shall I continue this drama of my life? Often we try to minimize our role play, our samsara as a role play. And then sometimes the question that comes is, you know, it is okay to do a role play once or twice or for some time, but when this role play or the drama or the difficult roles come again and again, it becomes difficult. So life can be, for a large number of people, meaningless, boring, burdensome struggle. A spiritual journey is an answer to this, and a spiritual journey comes from another prayer. A mantra comes from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says, Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityormam amritam gamaya. If you look into our lives, the spiritual journey should clearly be. See, in a journey, there are 2 points which we need to know. Where am I and where do I want to go? I am right now in samsara. I am in a state of MBBS. My life is so repetitive, so boring. Is there a way out? The Acharya says there is a way. There is a freedom from this cycle of repetitive births and deaths, and that is called moksha. So all of us look for what is this moksha. Now, if you look at our life, birth is not a problem. The problem is death. Punarapi maranam is the problem. So if there is a freedom, the real freedom, therefore, is not from freedom from birth, but freedom from death. So can I get out of death? And if you analyze, one thing is very clear. A mortal can never become immortal. That means, is there an answer or there is no hope? The answer is there is hope. The so-called mortality, this mantra says, is a false notion. It is asat. It is not real. My status of mortality is that about my body. And in a spiritual journey, I need to move from that which appears to be real, that is my body, mind, to that which is always there. And the example always given by our teachers is, if you look at a photograph when you are very small, your body has changed, your mind has changed, your thoughts has changed, everything has changed. But one thing which I identify myself as me, which is something other than my body and mind, that has never changed. What is that I need to discover, which is constant when my body and mind? And that is called my swarupa, or my true self. And we need to discover through the study of the Bhagavad Gita, what is my true self. And this is possible by the light of knowledge. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. I need to move from ignorance to knowledge. And this light of knowledge alone can save me, as this verse from the Bhagavad Gita says, Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. All of us, jantava beings, are our knowledge, our true nature is avritam, is covered by ajnanam. And therefore, we are suffering. So all our sufferings are based on ignorance, and ignorance is possible through the light of knowledge. And that is why we go to a guru and shastra to be able to discover our true nature. And so this lid of ignorance is removed through the words of the guru and the shastras. You will remember in the seventh chapter, Shri Krishna, the movement from the first shatkam to the second shatkam was a big change. He says in this chapter, that is in the beginning of the 7th chapter, I will introduce God to you, and you will know God completely. And the words are Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yajnatva neha bhuyo jnatva abam vashishyate. I will impart to you this knowledge. And once you gain this knowledge, there is nothing more that remains to be got in this life. What are the 2 things we need to work on? As Jiva, we have certain limitations. I have a date of birth, I have a date of death. But I understand if I am not this body, mind, I am the Athma. I discover I have been there, najayate mriyate va. I have been there from the very beginning, if there is a beginning. So as a Jiva, I have no limitations. That is one great discovery that we understand about ourselves. Then second, the discovery about God. Normally we pray to God as someone paroksha, far away, beyond the clouds. And then how do I solve this paroksha problem? As God is not someone far away, it is only an initial. It then becomes pratyaksha as the world around you. And finally, none other than that consciousness which enlivens all of us. So God is not paroksha, God is not even pratyaksha, but is aparoksha. There is none other than my true nature. And once we discover this, and this is what is happening through the spiritual journey, that Bhagavad Gita kinchidadita, even the study of the Bhagavad Gita, then what happens? We are no longer on Yama Dharmaraja's list. Yama has no more discussion with you. I have said this many times before. And if spiritual evolution reaches a peak, there is this beautiful verse called the Shiva Shankara Stotram, Ati Bhishana Kalubhashana. This is the moment when the Yamadutas come to take away the body. And these people are Yamakinkara Pathale. These are Krutatadana Paripidana Maranagama Samaye. At the time of death, all the Yamadutas and Yamakinkaras can be very rude, very crude, and try to be very impolite with you. But then we know the big boss, none other than the Lord himself, Lord Shiva. So this is the prayer to come along with Umasaha Mama Chetasi Yamashasana Nivasan, who is the Lord of Yama himself. O Shiva Shankara, Harame Durita. We are now coming to the end of the 18th chapter. And this is a moment when Shri Krishna gives the concluding teachings. And the concluding teachings are given to Arjuna to see if he has really got it. Let us listen to Indumati to the concluding, one of the concluding parts of the 18th chapter. Indumati, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. From verse 50 starts the crucial sadhana, which is called Jnana Yoga. Sannyasa literally means renunciation, the lifestyle of a monk designed for Vedanta Vichara, meant for systematic Vedanta Shravana, Manana, and Nidhidhyasana. Sannyasa represents Jnana Yoga, by practicing which one reaches Naishkarmyam Siddhim Adigacchati. Siddhim Prapto Yatha Brahma Tata Apnoti Nibodame Samase Naiva Kaunteya Nishta Gnanasya Yapara. Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, briefly know from me how one who has attained purity attains Brahman, which is the supreme culmination of knowledge. Jnana Yoga consists of 3 stages: shravanam, mananam, and Nidhidyasanam. Shravanam is the consistent and systematic study of the Vedantic scriptures for a length of time under the guidance of a competent guru. Mananam is going back and trying to recollect the definition of Athma and Anatma. Finally, Nidhidyasanam is dwelling upon the teaching so that it becomes my own second nature. Therefore, Lord Krishna suggests, become a sincere Vedantic seeker, forgetting all your roles, dwell upon your real nature. Without Shravanam, Nidhidyasanam is impossible. Without Nidhidyasanam, Shravanam is incomplete. Therefore, all are important. The Lord says here, a seeker attains siddhi, purity of mind, jnana yogyata, or sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Preparatory qualifications are called siddhi, and it is attained by following Karmayoga. Through Jnana Yoga, Brahma apnoti. He realizes through Jnana Yoga that whatever I have been seeking outside, they are not available outside, but all of them are already my nature. In the next shloka, we see that it's endowed with a clear intellect, having restrained the mind by will, having renounced the sense objects like sound, etc., one should give up likes and dislikes. As it is said earlier, Jnana Yoga consists of 3 parts: Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidhidyasanam. Lord Krishna wants to deal with Nidhidyasanam more than Shravanam and Mananam. Therefore, he presents Shravana and Manana in 3 words: Vishuddhaya, Budhya, Yuktaha. May you go through Shravanam first, that is, study Vedanta very clearly through Shastram in a systematic manner, like Jiva Swarupam, the nature of individual, the Ishvara Swarupam, the nature of God, Jagat Swarupam, the nature of the world, and Bandha Swarupam, the nature of samsara, Moksha Swarupam, the nature of moksha, and sadhana, the method by which you go from bondage to liberation. Once again, Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga, now highlighting the role of Nidhidhyasanam. Therefore, repeated hearing is a form of Nidhidyasanam. Repeated reading of the Shastra, repeated writing, repeated discussion among the students are all considered as Nidhidyasanam. Finally, when a person shares this knowledge with others, is also a form of Nidhidyasanam. Therefore, shravanam is the mental Vedantic activity with the assistance of a guru. Nidhidyasanam is the same mental Vedantic activity without the assistance of a guru. Next, we see that Lord Krishna talks about the important steps of Nidhidyasanam, Vedantic meditation, and Samadhi Adhyasaha. Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yuktaha. If you have plan of Vedantic meditation, make sure that you have studied Vedanta. You have gone through shravanam and mananam. Therefore, Vishuddha Buddhi is an intellect which has got clear knowledge of the Vedantic teaching, meaning a knowledge which is free from all doubts. Nidhidyasanam niyamyacha, controlling the self by firmness, turning away from worldly thoughts, shabdadin vishayan styaktva, relinquishing sound and other objects, ragadvesho vidasyacha, abandoning attraction and hatred. In the next shloka, we see Vivitta Sevi, dwelling in solitude, choose a relatively secluded place where the external disturbances will be minimum. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says that the greatest tragedy is we cannot face ourselves, that is, being alone. It is facing my own mind, my own anxieties and concerns. Face them courageously. Lagvashi, eating in a regulated manner, in a limited measure, eating in moderation. Yatha Vakaya Manasaha, controlling speech, body, and mind, learning to master all our organs. All of them are yatham, which means withdrawn from the external world. Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam, ever engaged in meditation, diverting the mind from the world of sense objects and maintaining it in a steady flow towards contemplation of the Lord in an utter attitude of identification is called meditation. Vairagyam samupashritaha. Dispassion is vairagyam, resorting to detachment. The essence of dispassion is not in our running away from the object, but from a truly dispassionate man, the objects run away in an inexplicable despair. So, drop all incidental relationships and invoke only 3 relationships: Ishvara Sambandha, Guru Sambandha, Shastra Sambandha. Kaivalya Upanishad gives this tip. Therefore, Vairagyam Upashritaha, hand over all the responsibilities to the Lord with this prayer. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ejanaha Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Those who worship me alone, thinking of nothing else, ever self-control, I secure for them that which is not already possessed by them, and preserve for them what they already possess. That is Shema. Next, we see Ahankaram Balam Darpam. Having given up egoism, power, arrogance, desire, anger, and possessions, being free from mind notion, remaining tranquil, one becomes fit for becoming Brahman. Ahankara means Anatma Abhimana, strong identification with the body. Remember, you have to protect the body, but you cannot get attached. This Deha Abhimana is called Ahankara. Balam means power, holding on to the power and position. But the Shastras say, become a guest in your own house. Balam means attachment to power. Darpam means arrogance, a person who constantly emphasizes his accomplishments. Kamam means materialistic desires which are endless to an individual personality working under the influence of kama and krodham, lust and anger. They are but natural. Lord Krishna tells the meditator to become free from these and become nirmamaha, egoless and peaceful. Wherever kama comes, the krodham is bound to come. Therefore, handle them carefully. Parigraham means possession. Vedanta always values a simple life. Bigger the possession or more the possessions, greater the distraction. Therefore, aparigraha, a simple life, is always prescribed, especially for a spiritual student. Then, nirmamaha is not giving up the deha abhimana, but also giving up the abhimana towards the possessions, that is mamakara. The Lord here is summarizing the Jnana Yoga sadhana, which consists of shravanam, systematic study of the Vedantic scriptures, mananam, through which we clear all the doubts, and finally, the stage of sadhana, which is the most important stage of internalization or the assimilation of the wisdom. Vimucha nirmama shanto. If a person practices this Vedantic meditation for a length of time, then Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Here, the person learns to disidentify from this finite I and learns to identify with the higher I, which is nothing but the Chaitanya Tattvam, the consciousness principle. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Such a meditator is fit to become one with Brahman. Next, we have Brahma-bhuta Prasannatma. Having become Brahman, the tranquil-minded one, neither grieves nor desires. Being the same towards all beings, he attains supreme devotion towards me. So, Manashantihi is the first indication of Jivan Mukti. The constant stress is the indication of samsara. The general Shantihi is the indication of moksha. A Jivan Mukta's mind is not easily disturbed. Even if he says, what? In a shop, he will say, so what? Within minutes. Nakankshati, he has a sense of fulfillment in life. That is Purnatvam. Now, his desire is not to get, but to give. Lord Krishna tells, Jnanam is not opposed to bhakti. On the other hand, Jnanam refines the bhakti. So the Lord says, Param bhaktim labhate. He attains the highest form of bhakti. Next we have Bhakta Mam Abhijanati. Through bhakti, one knows me truly in essence, what and who am. Then, having known me truly, he enters me immediately. Here, Lord Krishna summarizes the Nidhidhyasanam. In this context, bhakti means Nidhidhyasana Rupa Bhakti. Even Vedantic meditation is a form of bhakti. Janati means he gets knowledge. The Jnanam will get converted into Nishta. Yavan means the Saguna Swarupam. Tattvataha Yaha is Nirguna Swarupam, that is Chaitanya Swarupam. Tato Mam, Tattvato Gnatva, the knowledge of the higher nature is more important, which is called Vijnanam. Tat Anantaram Mam Vishate. As a consequence of that Nirguna Ishvara Tattvam, he enters into me. Again enters because once I transcend the time and space and come to Chaitanyam, the consciousness which is beyond time and space, there is nothing to divide me and God. Here, the ego ends, and therefore, afterwards, he enters me. Next, we have performing continuously all actions, always taking refuge in me. Such a seeker has mat prasadam, my grace. Krishna explains Matvapashraya. First take shelter in me. Tell yourselves that the ultimate source of strength and security is God alone. Learn to say that my ultimate support, ultimate security, strength is Bhagavan alone. Sarva karmanyapi sada. Perform all the actions you want to do, Laukika karma or Vaidika karma, worldly actions or religious actions. Offer all of them as Naivedyam, oblation to the Lord. Therefore, Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano madhyapashraya. May you perform it as Ishvara Arpana, then by my grace and receiving every consequence as Ishvara Prasada, gift from the Lord, Mat Prasadat, Ishvara Prasadat Apnoti, you will certainly attain your goal. Next, we see having me as the highest goal, restoring to the yoga of discrimination, your mind ever fixed in me, sarva karmani, my sanyasya, buddhi yoga mupashricha, renouncing mentally all deeds to me. Here the word buddhi means bhavana. The intellect's main function is discrimination, to discriminate the false from the true and to fix ourselves on the path of seeking the true is called buddhi yoga. Controlling life and regulating its movements through discrimination is Karmayoga. Majchitta satatam bhava, ever fix your mind upon me. Next, we see, fixing your mind upon me, you shall by my grace overcome all obstacles. But if you do not listen to me due to egoism, you shall perish. Lord Krishna says, he who has completely fixed all his thoughts upon me will cross over all difficulties by my grace. Lord Krishna now warns, in spite of all these warnings, if you refuse to follow Karma Yoga, it will lead to your spiritual downfall. Atana Shroshasi. On the other hand, if you do not listen to my sincere advice, because of your ahankara, ego, you will perish, meaning physical destruction. Next, we see, now filled with egoism, if you think, I will not fight, such a resolve of yours will be in vain, because your nature will compel you to act, that is, to fight. In this verse, Krishna is explaining further what he said in the previous shloka. Nashroshasi vinangshasi is explained here. Lord says, Arjuna, you are a Rajasic person, a born Kshatriya, and an embodiment of Rajoguna. Therefore, you have to lead an active life. Your nature will compel you to fight. Next, we see Swabhava Jena Kaunteya. Kaunteya, bound by your own duty, which is born of your nature. If you helplessly do that, which you do not want to do because of your delusion. Remember the rule, everybody has a swabhava, sattva pradhana, raja pradhana, or tama pradhana. Whatever style you choose, that must be in harmony with your swabhava. Then only there will not be any strain in your personality. So, in the next shloka, we have Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesherjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudani mayaya. Arjuna, the Lord resides in the heart of all beings, revolving all the beings through Maya by his power of illusion to revolve as if mounted on a machine. Lord is the one who organizes, controls, and directs all things in the world, and without whose command nothing ever happens. Therefore, remember him as Ishvara. Next, we have Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata Tat Prasadat Param Shantim Stanam Prapsasi Shashvatam. Arjuna, surrender to him alone wholeheartedly, by his grace, you shall attain peace and the eternal abode. Therefore, surrender to the Lord by saying, Mamopata samasta duritakshayadvaraha. Let raga dvesha kama krodha all go away. Tvameva sharanam gacha. May you take refuge in that Lord by offering all the karmas to the Lord with sarva bhavena bharata, wholeheartedly, sincerely, with shraddha and bhakti. Thus, material results may or may not come, but spiritual growth is always definite to come. Now, coming towards Tattva Bodha, we will see about the meaning of bhakti, devotion to God. Forms of love. Scriptures point out that all forms of love that a human being entertains is directed towards only three things. Love towards goals. First is whatever goals that we want to accomplish in our life, whatever ends that we want to accomplish, all are ends that we love. And it is because we love them, we want to acquire them or accomplish them. This is called love towards various ends or goals. Love towards means. Later, we find that to accomplish the ends, we have to use various means. Only through the means we accomplish the ends. Since the means are useful to accomplish the ends, we begin to love the means also. Therefore, the second direction of our love is love of means. Love towards oneself. The third object of love is the love of oneself. Everyone loves himself or herself. It is called self-love. The scriptures point out that there is a gradation in the intensity of love. Love of the means is the least in its intensity. Love of the end is mediocre. And love of oneself is the highest form of love, wherein the love has got the highest intensity. If we have to grade, means love is called manda, end love is called madhya, self-love is called uttama, because that is the highest in intensity. Love towards God is, the scriptures point out that the intensity of the love depends upon how you look upon God. Manda bhakti is dull. It is selfish bhakti. As long as you look upon God to attain means, the love is called manda bhakti. This is a conditional love. Madhyama bhakti is middle bhakti. These people look upon God not as means to various ends. They know God represents peace, security, and happiness. Once they know God represents these, they know that God is the end of their lives, and naturally their love of God is as the end. This bhakti is called Madhyama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti is, here I look upon the God not as the means, not even as the end, but God as non-different from myself. Soham asmi means that the Lord is essentially not different from me, and therefore the Lord and the self being identical, God love will become equal to self-love. Since self-love is the most intense love, that form of love is called Uttama Bhakti. For Manda Bhakta, God is dear. For Madhyama Bhakta, God is dearer. And for Uttama Bhakta, God is the dearest. Thus, love of God in the form of Manda, Madhyama, and Uttama Rupa is called Bhakti. This is the first meaning of the word Bhakti. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indumati, for giving us an excellent summary of the verses 50 to 62, where you can see the great teacher Sri Krishna is using all the resources available to bring Arjuna to solve Arjuna's problem. And the real solution is through spiritual wisdom. The climax will come in the Charama Shloka. And as a preparation, Sri Krishna goes again and again into a summary of Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga, the two sadhanas available are going on and on. And in the next class, we will have the concluding few verses to see, has Arjuna got the message? Which means, have we got the message? Let us see if you have understood the topics so far by a teaching quiz, which will be conducted by Dr. San.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In today's quiz, let us revise our understanding of our learnings from the shlokas 50 to 62. We'll start with Bhagavad Gita shlokas first and then move on to Tattva Bodha. So looking at verse 51, we just heard Srimati Indumati ji explain it to us so beautifully. In this verse, what are the sadhanas listed to get eligibility for Jnana Prapti?
The first is Dhritya, controlling the mind by will. Second is Athmanam Niyama, self-restraint towards self-objects, towards sense objects. And the third is Ragadvesha Vyudasya, abandoning likes and dislikes.
Correct. Moving on to the next question. From verse 52, this verse deals with Vedantic meditation. So throughout this emphasis on Jnana Yoga verses, Krishna is speaking about Nidhidhyasanam. So what are the external preparatory steps necessary to get into this sadhana?
The first is Vivikta Sevi, choosing a secluded place. Next is Lagvashi, eating in moderation. Vatavak Kaya Manasaha, controlling speech, body and mind. Vairagyam, dispassion. Nityam Dhyana Yoga Paraha. So being involved in meditation regularly.
Very good. All the answers are right. Moving on to the next question. From verse 18.53. This talks about certain obstacles during meditation, which we need to overcome through the sadhanas that we perform, the internal sadhanas, antaranga sadhanas. What are they?
Ahankaram, which is ego, body identification. Mamakara, possessiveness. Balam, which is attachment to power. Darpam, arrogance. Kamam, desire. Krodham, anger. And parigraham, selfishness.
Correct. Moving on to the next question. In the same verse, Krishna says, after overcoming the above traits, the ahankalam, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, parigraham, the meditator gains oneness with Brahman. Which word in this verse represents this oneness?
That is Brahma Bhuyaya.
Correct. Very good. Next question. So that Brahma Bhuyaya is oneness with Brahman. From verse 18.54, talks about the characteristics of a Sankhya yogi who has attained oneness with Brahman. What are the words which characterize this oneness which the Sankhya yogi has attained?
Na shochiti, na kankshati, no grief or desire. Sama sarveshu bhutishu, being the same towards all creatures.
Yes, correct. From the same verse, some attributes of a jnani are mentioned. That is prasannatma, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, etc. And na shochiti, na kankshati. So these are the attributes of a particular word mentioned in verse 2.55. What is that?
Sthita prajna.
Sthita prajna is correct. Moving on to the next question. So this entire set of verses talks about Nidhidyasanam. So just mere when a spiritual seeker goes through shravanam, mananam, and then has to go into Nidhidyasanam. So with shravanam, mananam, the person gets Shastra Jnanam, but that alone is not enough to attain Jnanam. So what is the meaning of the word Nidhidyasanam? Is it acquiring knowledge? Is it validating the knowledge that is acquired? Is it assimilating the knowledge or dwelling upon the knowledge? Which is the correct answer?
Correct answer is C and D, assimilating and dwelling upon the knowledge.
Correct. So it has to be internalized. The next question is from verse 18.55. What are the two words in this verse which denote apara and para prakriti?
Apara is yavan and para is tattvataha.
Yeah, so we've just heard Indumati say that yavan is saguna ishvara and tattvayaha is nirguna ishvara. And this we come to know by loving devotion, that is abhijnanati. Moving on to the next verse, 18.56. Success in Karmayoga depends on two things we know. One is our own effort. And second, we need the grace of God, Ishvara Anugraha. How do we get this Ishvara Anugraha? It is mentioned in this verse. What are the two words which?
Yeah. So it is Vyapashraya, that is taking shelter, or Sharanam, refuge in the Lord.
Yes, this is a verse which talks about Sharanam, and that is Sharanagati Tattva. Moving on to the next question. From the same verse, Shashvatam and Avyayam are two of the adjectives which are used to qualify the word Padam. So what is this Padam? The answer is already given.
It's a supreme goal.
It's the Moksha Padam. Next question. So in verse 18.57, it says, Buddhi Yogam Upashritya Machita Satatam Bhava, the second line. What is this Buddhi Yoga that Krishna is talking about?
Buddhi Yoga is another word for Karma Yoga, because Buddhi means Bhavana. Ishvara Arpana Bhavana and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi.
Correct. So all our activities should be done with these two characteristics, the Ishvara Arpana and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Next question. In verse 18.59, the first line of this verse has reference to, here Krishna admonishes Arjuna. So it has reference to which verse in the Gita earlier?
In chapter 2, there were two verses 3 and 9, where he had admonished Arjuna for not fighting.
Correct. So he says, Na yotsye, Arjuna says, Na yotsye, I will not fight. And here Krishna says, even if you don't fight because of your desire not to fight, your nature will not allow you. Moving on to the next question. From verse 18.61. Just as the battery or the power energizes the machine to work, what is it that which enlivens all beings? What are the words described in this verse?
Yeah. So, Brahmayan Yantra Rudhani. That is consciousness which enlivens and manifests.
So it is like the machine, the power of the machine, which makes the all beings revolve. The being within us. Brahmayan Yantra Rudhani. Yes, that's the correct answer. The next question. This is from a question relating to the Tattva Bodha, the famous verse from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where Yajnavalkya is speaking to Maitreyi, and he says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. meaning everything is loved for one's own sake. So this is a Shruti Vakya from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What type of bhakti does this indicate? We've heard 3 types of bhakti, Manda, Madhya, and Uttama. And what is the significance of this bhakti?
So this would be the highest form, that is Uttama Bhakti. And the significance is that the distinction between the subject and object disappears. And one understands the essential unity of the self.
Correct. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So in such a bhakti, the difference between the object and the subject is lost, it disappears, and the essential unity of the self is comprehended. So moving on to the last question of today, how is this bhakti achieved?
Through Vedantic meditation.
Yes. So it is through meditation and through those 3 stages, that is shravanam, hearing the scriptures, reflection of their meaning, mananam, and the practice of Nidhidhyasanam. So that is how this bhakti, highest form of bhakti, is realized. Thank you. Hari Om.
Friends, I seek your attention for an important announcement. With the grace of our Param Gurus, our DISHA series on Bhagavad Gita is concluding with just one more session, that is with our YouTube premiere on Monday, 26th June 2023. After this, we shall be coming out with a new study series, details of which shall be announced in the due course. Our Parama Gurus, without being exhaustive, Swami Paramarthanandaji, Swami Anubhavanandaji, Swami Brahmaji, Swami Shankar Bharatiji, Chidanandaji, bestow spiritual knowledge freely as per our ancient tradition or parampara. And in return, Shishyas offer Guru Dakshina to express gratitude. Keeping with this tradition of Sanatana Dharma, we from Param Vedanta are desirous of offering collective Guru Dakshina to all our Parama Gurus on the occasion of Guru Purnima. We humbly invite your voluntary contribution with an assurance that the entire amount collected towards this shall be offered to our Gurus as gratitude from entire Param Vedanta family. Kindly take a picture of the bank details displayed in the slide for your reference. Please note of the link provided for you to update the contribution details on Google Forms. This is necessary for accounting and to issue a receipt. I wish to thank all those who have already sent their contributions and request them to update the details on Google Forms. Thank you, Dr. Netra, for shloka, the profound shloka. Srimati Indumati ji for your wonderful presentation. Dr. Sandhya Ravi for the educative teaching quiz, and hearty thanks to Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir. Most importantly, thank you, friends, for your active participation. Friends, remember to join on Monday, 26th June 2023 at 6:45 p.m. sharp for our 69th and concluding session of DISHA to listen to the final conclusion, Lord's concluding remarks and Sanjaya's concluding remarks. Also from Tattva Bodha, subtopic of Athma, the 4th factor or the blessing principle shall be explained. Dhanyavada and Shubharatri. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.